Hi everybody and welcome to this video, and on this video I'm going to show you how I got my cheap knockoff Baofeng programming cable to actually work in Windows with my UV5RH there, the radio there. And this is the cable that I purchased. I don't know if you can see that very well on the camera, but it does actually say Baofeng on the actual USB adapter there. So yeah, it's probably about a meter long cable. It's got the right connector on it there, and we've got USB there. Now this was only a couple of pound cable. It was a very cheap cable for what it was, and I knew I was probably going to have a few issues with this because I'd watched some YouTube videos that other people had done, and they'd had also issues with the non-genuine cables and getting them to work. Seemed like you needed an old version of the driver in most cases, so that definitely is going to be a problem for me. So yeah, that's the cable. Like I say, it's got a Baofeng sticker on it there. But obviously it is only a very cheap knockoff cable. It's nowhere near the cost, but you can get them to work. A little bit of faffing in Windows, which we'll go through the process for, but yeah, that's dead simple. That end obviously plugs in the PC, and this end here plugs into the radio, and I'll give you a few tips on connecting that to the radio now, as there is a few common problems you can get while connecting that. So one important point I want to make is to make sure that you actually clip the cable into the radio properly. It's very easy to just plug it in and it doesn't click in properly. I've done it myself, and I've seen notes online about this as well. A lot of people make this mistake. So you open the socket there where we've got the two jack plugs, you line it up, you push it in, and sometimes it doesn't click right in. You think it's in, but you have to give it a push and make sure it's in, and that's now flush in with the radio, and it's plugged in at that end. We can now plug the other end into the PC for the USB connection. So we're now going to look at the bit which most people find quite difficult, and that's the driver installation. Because this Baofeng radio cable is a cloned copy, it's not going to work straight away. There's going to be some problems with it. So this is going to explain to you how to get around the problems and how to roll the driver back to an old driver that will work. So here in Google, we're just going to open Google and we're going to search for USB Baofeng download. And the first couple of results it's going to find is the official Baofeng site and things like that, which we don't want. We want to scroll down to a website here called miclaw.com. So we're looking for this miclaw.com. Now it might find a particular page here. Don't worry, so long as we end up on the miclaw.com website. We'll click that. And what we'll do is we'll just clear the bit on the line at the top, and we'll go to the miclaw.com homepage. So there's various info on here. It's a really good site, loads of different things, but we're not really interested in reviews. The bit we're interested in is down here, programming section. So the bit that we need here is the one called drivers. So we select drivers, and we just scroll down here. It tells us all about the drivers. Now the driver that I got here on my cable is a prolific one, and the way I actually know that is from Device Manager here. So you open Device Manager on your computer, and the cable's not connected at the moment, but if I just stand up very quickly and just plug the cable in, there we go. We can now see that it comes up with a prolific USB serial COM port 3. So that's how I know I'm using a prolific chipset. Now sometimes what you'll get here is a little yellow symbol with like a caution mark in, and that means the driver's failed to load. Normally if it comes up like this, that means it's actually working. You would think it's working. Now the problem I've got here is, yes, the driver says it's working, but it's causing a few problems. When you plug the radio in and turn the radio and plug the cable into the radio, the programming cable that's plugged into the PC, it actually, the TX starts to flash. Now it's interesting because it says here exactly the same problem I'm having. When opening Device Manager, the yellow triangle may not appear, which I don't get. However, when the cable is inserted into the radio, the transmitter will turn on, which I'm going to, which is what is exactly happening on this radio, showing you on the video there. That should not occur. More details can be found here. So we click that and it gives us a bit more info about us not getting the yellow triangle, the transmitter turning on, and some possible errors you might get. But we'll just go back to that bit there. Now the bit that we want here is we've got to basically downgrade the driver. So if we look in Device Manager at the moment and we look at the USB serial COM port 3 and we go properties on it and we go to driver, what it's telling us here that we've got 29th of the 5th 2024 version 3.8430, the latest driver on Windows 10 for this, and this is causing us problems. Now I have had all these problems with actually prolific chipset drivers in the past. You often find that cloned cables for various things related to computers, like scanners, radios, programming cables for network switches, things like that, they all tend to use this prolific chipset. All the cheap knockoff ones do, probably because of the cheap chipset, and they can clone them quite easily. But you do get problems with the latest drivers, and the reason you get the problem is the latest drivers have got some inbuilt security features and things like that that look at the chipset in a bit more detail, and if they find certain things on the chipset, they can stop it from working and all sorts of problems. But the older version of the driver doesn't have that those relevant checks in there. So the older versions of the drivers tend to just actually work. The problem is obtaining the older version of the drivers, but luckily this website does host a copy of the older version of the driver. So what we're going to do is cancel that. So we've looked at there in our Device Manager, and we'll close that down now, and we'll go directly to the install drivers section. There we go. So it's telling us to download the driver and remove the USB programming cable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow those instructions. I've unplugged the USB programming cable, and what I'm going to do is download this exe file from the website. We'll just do save as there in the downloads. It's just a very small exe file. It's downloaded. We'll click it to run it, and we'll follow the instructions. And it says it's basically telling us, first of all, remove the programming cable. We've done that. Double click the file and follow the prompts until it's completely installed. So it's just going to be a simple next, I agree, the installation is complete, finish. So there we go. So we've done step 4, and we can now jump to step 5, which says plug the USB programming cable back into the PC. So I've plugged that back in. Now I don't get these little notifications in the corner, so I can ignore that bit, but we'll launch Device Manager again now, and we'll complete the rest of the tasks there. So we're looking back under the port section here, and we can see prolific USB is back again now because we've plugged it back in. So we get properties on that and look at the driver there. Now you may notice it's still showing the version that we were just looking at. The reason for that is what we've just done is we've installed a driver, but we've not actually selected it yet. So we've done the installation, but we've not selected the driver. So what we need to do now is click Update Driver. And we're going to click Browse My Computers for Drivers. Let me pick a list of available drivers. Now it's showing us here my current version, which is that bottom one, and the one we've just installed, which is the one we need, 3200. That's the one we need. So we're going to select that one because that's the one we want, 3200, the old version. We click Next, then it's going to install drivers. Completed. And now we're back here. If we look, and we're now on driver version 3200, which is the driver version we need. Now, one important thing to mention here about drivers and port settings. Now, the way computers work is when you plug something into a particular USB port, it loads a driver. Now, if I was to plug that prolific USB device into a different USB port on my computer, it would not load that old driver. It would load the new driver. The reason for that is the driver is tied to the port that we're looking at here. So just kind of remember that, otherwise you're going to have some problems if you plug them in different ports. Always, when you're setting this up now, remember to plug it into the same USB port each time you're using it. Leave it plugged in. If like me, you've got loads of ports on the front of your PC and you just constantly plugging things in as you need them, you're going to have to remember which port you've set this up on. I tend to put little stickers on mine just to remember and remind myself which ports are which. But yeah, that's all set up and the driver is installed with 3200. Just to make a note, remember that you're COM3 because we're going to need to select COM3 when we jump forward to the actual software installation. So that's how you set up the driver. It does seem a bit complicated, these instructions here on screen, but it is pretty straightforward, and basically what we've done is followed these. I've done these in the past, so I know how to do it. You can reboot your computer, you may not need to do that. I'm using Windows 10, but this will apply very similar configuration to Windows 11 or older versions of Windows as well. Okay, so now let's jump forward to the actual software installation that we need to get the cable working and the interface where we can actually input all the frequencies. So to download the actual Baofeng software for the radio, just go to Google and search Baofeng download and you'll be prompted with various download links here. Because I'm in the UK, baofengradio.co.uk, which is the official site there, I'm going to click that link because that's the one I want to look at. And here we've got various links to the software for different versions of the radio. Now I'm using a Baofeng UV5RH. There's the 5RH, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head, mind blank. But there you go, UV5RH is the one. Yeah, that's my radio there. Almost couldn't forget my own radio then. And it tells you the software that I need is the T6UV series. So T6UV, you just basically click the download link there and it'll take us to a Google Drive share, I think. And we can just download the software and install it. This is the actual software once you've got the driver. So always do the driver bit first that we've covered, install the driver and then install this software. Or there is other software you can use as well, but this, I'm just showing you this for example of the software that I'm currently using. So I'm going to click download on this. So yeah, it's saying, do you want to download anyway? It can't scan it, but yeah, we'll download. 1.7 megabyte in size, so it's quite a small piece of software, and it's downloaded there. So we'll just click it to run it. Select the additional tasks that you want to install, create a desktop shortcut. Yes, we'll do the next, and install. And there we go, that's very quick and easy. It's only a small package, and it's now finished the software installation. So do we want to launch it? We can now launch the software, and we can continue to now use the software for programming our radio. So once you've got the program open, you need to first of all select the correct port for the radio, which port it's connected to, and you do that with settings and port, and we've got a list of ports here that will show. Now I know from looking that it's currently connected to COM3, so I select COM3. If I wasn't sure, you can just open Device Manager on your computer and have a look under ports, COM and LPT, and we can see there the prolific USB serial COM port, COM3. That is the programming cable that I've got and I'm using. Now the one, of course, I'm using at the moment, I needed to change the driver on here in order to get it to work. So I'm using an older version of the driver. I'm using 3200 version of the driver in order to get this cable to work, because it's a non-genuine cable. It's one of the cheap cables. So now I know that's correct. We'll just go in there, make sure I did select COM3. Yeah, and if I want to read from the radio now, read the data that's on the radio currently, you just click read. And it brings you this box up, very strange looking box. Just click start. And it'll connect to the radio. And it'll come back finish. And we've got the saved frequencies here that I've got in the radio currently, and the names associated to it. Now I want to make some changes to this. This is the crossband repeater for the International Space Station, so just as a test I want to add the TX in here, 145.990, and we'll put it there, 145.990, 145.990, 145.990, 145.990. Right, the reason I've got these 5 frequencies saved, this is the receive frequency for the crossband repeater on the International Space Station. It's actually 437,800 is the main frequency. Now, because of the Doppler effect, obviously the frequency changes as the satellite is passing overhead. So there's a broad range of frequencies above and below as it passes over. So somebody's going to correct me because I may be wrong here. I think it starts from the top, like it'll start higher and then it'll drop down to say 437,790, somewhere around that range at the very end when you lose the signal of it. So yeah, I just wanted to put that TX frequency in there, and I believe there's a CSS tone of 67.0, so we'll change that on here as well, on all these that are saved. And power, leave at high. Everything else we're going to leave, PTT ID we'll leave off. We'll leave all the rest of these set as they are. I've got the names in there just saved. So I want to upload that now to the radio. So it's dead simple. You just press the right button and then click start. It'll now write those frequencies to my radio. Finished. And that's done. That's now wrote all them changes to the radio, so I can jump back to the radio and double check those.
Welcome. Frequency mode.
So we're going to switch here to
Channel mode.
channel mode.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5.
So we can see them. Now if we were to TX on this frequency, we should TX on the 145.990 and we receive 1437 there, so we know that the stored frequencies are correct.
2, 3.
And that's programming the radio and checking the relevant
3.
frequencies. Obviously the VFO-MR button
Frequency mode.
is frequency mode
Channel
or
mode.
channel mode. We're using channel mode
4,
because
5,
the channels are actually
1.
saved in the radio.
2, 3, 4, 5, 1.
So yeah, so that's just proving to you that the channels programmed in the radio are now actually
2,
working.